Welcome to Transform Now, the podcast brought to you by robotic process automation pioneer Blue Prism. Digital transformation has the potential to reshape the way companies service their customers, engage their employees, and manage their operations. Whether you're looking to develop strategies, tactics, and best practices to positively impact the future of work, or you're curious to learn how other companies have successfully navigated their digital transformation programs, then this podcast is for you. We're here to help you transform now.
Hello and welcome to this Blue Prism sponsored podcast. My name is Bill Rubino. I am the Senior Director of Industry Marketing. And today we're going to be talking about the intersection of three very exciting technologies. We're going to be talking about how intelligent automation and drones can assist in the rollout of 5G. So a lot has been written about 5G. With the high bandwidth that it brings and the low latency, there is the expectations that will be many applications and many services that will come out of 5G. And this hopefully will lead to more revenue for the telecom industry. So let's start off. Let me dive in, and I want to introduce my colleague, Martin Stevenson. Martin.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. Hi, everybody. Martin Stevenson with Blue Prism. And my role in Blue Prism, I'm the lead for our communications, media, and technology business.
Okay, and James, let me introduce James Harrison, who is our guest here from Inspection2. James, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do with Inspection2.
Thanks, Bill. Hi, everybody. So I've been working with drones as a technology for a very long time, and really find myself now at the kind of cutting edge of AI and ML. But I'll kind of just backtrack to put this all into context. I first started using drones back in 2006 in the military. I was working in Baghdad in Iraq, and we were using them to work out the routes around Baghdad. So we had three different maps that I would carry in my patrol vehicle. I had an ordnance survey map from around 1971, because hopefully relief doesn't change too much. I had a satellite map, which was around about 18 months out of date, and obviously buildings do get bombed and moved. And then I had a drone map, which had typically been stitched together the night before, having had the Americans flying out and taking aerial pictures. So with these three maps, it helped me kind of get around, and it really gave me this appreciation for the different types of aerial intelligence that we could pull on. So we didn't just have to rely on kind of old school methodology. A year later, I volunteered to be deployed to Helmand Province to Afghanistan. I worked again with the Americans very closely, and we were deploying and being airdropped into areas we'd never been in before. So we used the drones to fly at really high up so they wouldn't get spotted. And then we were kind of doing infrastructure inspection. So we're trying to work out how big a building was, how thick a wall was, and just doing some very basic measurements, right? So using the average height of a tree next to the Helmand River to try and work out how big a compound was. So if we got dropped there and we came under fire, could we hole up in that compound? So really my interest has always been on the output, less on the actual thing that's collecting the data. So I left the military, spent some time at Deloitte as a strategy consultant in London, and at the same time was kind of working on this idea of, can we harness these drones, in the commercial sector for asset inspection and what can be done. So I started a company called Sky Futures. So we incorporated that in 2009. And at the time, DJI was, which was kind of started by Frank Wang, was still in a kind of dorm room in Hong Kong. And you had to put the bits together, and it's not something you could use commercially. We had to then kind of wait really a couple of years before the commercial drones took off, and Ascending Technologies, who were then bought by Intel, who do the light shows, for those of you that follow the stuff closely, were absolutely brilliant. So we started off flying drones around oil and gas rigs to do inspections so people didn't have to climb out. And naturally that kind of flowed into, adjacent industries such as utilities, such as telecom.
And what year were you starting with that?
So I incorporated the business with two co-founders back in 2009. And really, we started operating commercially. We were doing the first kind of oil majors in 2011, both UK, Norway, and then globally. So we grew that business to around 5 offices, so US, Malaysia, Scotland, Abu Dhabi, and then London, Aberdeen. But as we grew that business, we realized we were just collecting loads of data, and it was quicker to capture the data than it was for someone to climb, but it was slower to review the data because we had so much more data to play with than we ever had before. So I hired a CTO in, and we worked out, okay, how are we gonna change how we do business, right? So in 2014, we said, can we not just automate the inspection process? Why does someone create an inspection report? What drives an action? Is it just a weird cycle we go through?
Yeah.
You know? So I started to do that. So I hired the CTO in 2014. We started building out a software platform to leverage the new technologies, which were at the time, machine learning, computer vision, and then latterly from 2017 onwards, what we kind of now term as kind of AI. Because really it wasn't mature enough a technology before that to use. So we started building all that out, and then there was a bit of a tension because we were a drone services company and a kind of data software platform company, and so I decided along with the board to split the company. So I sold Sky Futures to private equity back in May 2019, and took all of the technology and the team into a new company called Inspection2. So that's where we are. So we're quite new on one hand, but we have this massive history, right? And we've been working with the biggest companies on the planet since day one. So we really know what we're doing from an enterprise perspective, which is really firmly where we sit. We don't work with the small companies. We do stuff at scale. So that's kind of the quick background into where we came from.
That's fascinating. I love the progression of taking something to the commercial market that you used in the military, and then expanding upon that, and then realizing, this is the use case of automation. You have a lot of data. How do you sift through it? So that's just fascinating. So thank you, James. I want to go back to Martin, and I want to talk to you about, from the telco space, what do you see in terms of the CEOs? What's keeping them up at night? What is their biggest challenges, Martin?
Yeah, Bill. So the things that we find that the C-suite of the telcos that we talk to are dealing with, are focused on, there's 3 main ideas or imperatives really that they're dealing with. The first is all around the customer experience. How am I going to win the war for the right to serve the customer? And that might sound counterintuitive, but actually, there's a lot of choice that customers have, and in the world of the telco, for example, there's a lot of new competition. These born digital companies, over-the-top companies that are basically trying to become the portal for the customer relationship, and take that responsibility away from the telco, or pick any other industry. It's the same. So the need to have an absolutely excellent provide an excellent customer experience is really top of mind. Equally top of mind is the need to find new ways of generating revenue. We're seeing both in the world of B2C, business to consumer, and in business to business, B2B, that the kind of flat rate contracts are starting to become the norm. And when you've got a flat rate, and all you can eat data plan, all you can eat minutes and text, whatever it might be, then how are you gonna generate new income? And that's something that really preoccupies the C-suite of the telcos we've seen. But the third, and really the driver for everything else, that influences those first 2 issues. The third is this whole 5G revolution that the telcos are at the heart of in terms of delivering. And the thing about the 5G revolution, whether you're a CSP or whether you're a manufacturer, is that it completely, it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that there's opportunity to, as I said before, generate new revenue streams, sell new capabilities, new packages of technology solutions to your business clients and to the consumers out there as well. So it's a really big opportunity, but simultaneously, it's a huge responsibility and a huge cost, because it's a race. It's a race to roll out the infrastructure to support these new capabilities that 5G is enabling. And there will be winners and there will be losers. And the winners will be those that can roll out fast and monetize quickly, and do it making a profit. And the losers will be those that are slow and can't monetize quickly, so end up making losses and eventually going out of business. And it is a reality. There will be winners and there will be losers. So it's a race, and that is really top of mind for every C-suite in every CSP and in every telco technology manufacturer.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like it's a race for revenue, obviously, and it's a race for competitiveness as well in the industry. If you're the revenue is obviously the important thing that you want to drive the business, but making sure that if you're there with new services, everyone's going to come to your site, which is fascinating. So if you look at this rollout of 5G, and the promise of the scalability of it, how does intelligent automation play in that? Especially once you get 5G deployed, there certainly has to be some interesting things that have to happen with the infrastructure. And as I mentioned earlier, with automation, there's going to be a lot of data that you have to sift through as well. How does intelligent automation affect this?
Well, intelligent automation is a way, a technique, a technology that the telcos can use to deploy faster. And by that I mean, doing things like knowing what they're going to deploy and what the site looks like, and what if it's an existing site, what's there and what's not there, and in actuality rather than in theory, because what you often find is what you thought was on a mast is not what's on a mast, and the space you thought was on a mast isn't actually free, because the contractor you paid to take that equipment off never did it. So intelligent automation can help with that. And I'm going to use a phrase which I learned from James actually, but I think is a really strong evocative concept, and that is of the digital twin. And when you've got the digital twin established, and James will talk about how Inspection2 makes that a possibility and something you can do quickly. When you've got that, you've got the information you need. You've got almost like figuratively speaking, a 3D picture of what's going on. And if you've got that, using intelligent automation, artificial intelligence, using the digital twin as the starting point, you can be more proactive. You can actually monetize the real estate you've got out there. But also, if you're having to build infrastructure, you're able to do things like understand what the nature of the site is. So what is the equipment that's going to be needed? What are the personnel that are going to be needed? And there's this concept of truck rolls and reducing the number of truck rolls that are required to get the infrastructure built out quickly. Intelligent automation plays an important role in that. So that's the first area. So that's kind of just deploying and getting it out there. But when you're operational, and you've built a digital twin, you are in your hands. You have a lot of information, not just static, but also real time. And the challenge is, what are you going to do with that? Are you actually going to be able to use that to your advantage? Are you going to be able to do things like monetize the infrastructure as effectively as possible? Are you going to be able to maintain it both proactively and predictively, but also in a reactive mode. Can you do that in a very efficient way, thereby saving yourself a lot of money, but more importantly, any downtime? Because downtime in the world of 5G is really, an anathema. So you really don't want to go there.
You don't want to have downtime
You
when it
don't
comes to
exactly.
services like that. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an unthinkable concept. So, but it could happen. So, how do you mitigate that? And again, intelligent automation plays a role in doing that. So, it's both in the deployment, it's in the monetization, and then it's in the, let's call it the effectiveness. And I'd lump into that effectiveness, or that uptime and so forth. I'd also include compliance in there, because again, that's a huge responsibility that the telcos have, and they need to comply. They need to avoid fines. They need to avoid being shut down. There's and those compliance rules will vary from country to country. So, as I said, digital twin is key. The information that you have, both static and real time, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to use that? Well, you can use that in those areas, as I said, of deploying faster, more effectively, more efficiently, managing, maintaining, and monetization and compliance. So that's really the role. There are multiple roles, but fundamental to all of that is having the ability to build the digital twin, and then have the ability to drive information from the digital twin and do something with it. And that's where Inspection2 become really, really powerful.
Yeah, so thank you, Martin. So that's certainly a good segue here for you, James, to kind of let us know, how does the rollout of 5G, how do you how do you achieve a digital twin? What is your role to play here, for gathering this information, and what do you see in terms of the benefits that telcos can get from this?
Sure. So previously, someone would go out to a cell site, they would capture some imagery, they'd climb it, they'd take lots of calculations, they'd then come back, produce a CAD drawing, write down the tilt angle, the azimuth, and create this kind of manual report, right? So this older process takes like 3 to 5 days, and it's slow. It's one time. That's it. It's done. Whereas what we're doing now, and actually, some of the tower companies are really, pushing ahead with this already, which is excellent, and we're working with them to do this. But they're already utilizing things like drones, and other data input. So it could be like your mobile phone, anything really with metadata on, we're really interested in. Taking images of the cell tower site, and if they're using a drone, there's a flight path and everything else they can follow. So contractors do that to capture the data. Then where we change it, where we make it different, is they upload it to our cloud, right? And from there, it's we do a bunch of really clever stuff to take away the kind of manual operation. So we automatically create the different folders. We then create a digital twin, and I'll talk about that in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then we can switch on a bunch of kind of defect detection, inventory analysis, and some other really clever tools to basically reduce any time the engineer has to spend manually doing this process, right, which is completely wasted. If someone doesn't know the exact antenna type, if they get an image of the back of it, we use optical character reading to identify exactly what that antenna is, right? So you don't even need to be, up close and personal to do this. That's all then pushed into sort of templated reports. We have a CAD library, and we automatically compile these reports, right? So you're taking a process that was three to 5 days long, and you're shrinking it to a day and a half. So already there's a huge saving there.
And let me ask you this: typically how many towers will an operator have? Because I'm assuming if they had done this 3 to 5 days, there's obviously some savings there as well. So typically, what are they trying? How many towers are they trying to assess in this process?
Well, let's just take a walk through example here. So let's say you've got like, I don't know, 23,000 towers, right? And
Wow, that's a
you need
lot.
to do like, yeah, which is, some of the big tower operators have got many, many more, right? And in the European ones, we're seeing a kind of a macro trend of consolidation. We're seeing, Vodafone spin off in, their towers into Vantage. We're seeing American Tower come in and just bought a load. We're seeing Cellnex, buying tower companies kind of every month at the moment. There's a bit of a land grab, and that will continue. So we're going to see more large independent tower companies in Europe, right, which need to act a lot more aggressively and really drive the revenue that kind of Martin was talking about, and this kind of race to roll out, and they need to monetize quickly, right? So if you have, and just going back to, let's say you have 23,000 towers, your revenues will be around, I don't know, 315, 320 million, right? For those 23,000 towers, right? So it's not insignificant. If we're looking at the report generation time on site, if you go 3 to 5 days, that's 3 to 5 days of people driving to your site, 3 to 5 days of people doing stuff on site, climbing and whatnot. So there's a lot of activity there. If you reduce that to 1.5 days, you save 34 man days, right?
Wow.
Over your 24,000 days, right? Saved, which, if you kind of work on a 230 day a year working pattern, which is pretty normal, that's 148 full-time equivalent employees, right? And in the UK, that's about 12 million quid's worth of savings.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. And so you're out there, and to get a digital twin, you're assessing the inventory, right? And you're looking at what equipment needs to be fixed, what equipment needs to be upgraded. Martin had mentioned compliance too. I'm interested in that. Is that compliance in terms of making sure that you're adhering to, like in the US, the equivalent of the FCC, that you're not, blasting, a frequency out too much, or how's that roll in there?
So there's a load of different things that can be done, but first of all, you need somewhere to be able to refer back to, right? Which is this kind of digital twin that we talked about. So really, just to be really clear, a digital twin is essentially a virtual copy of a physical asset, right? That's all it is. When it comes to Inspection2, we give our customers a choice of 8 different digital twins, right? So there's quite a few out there. People get very excited by this. We've put a nice little blog on our website, so you can actually go really deep into this if you want to geek out on digital twins. But we have everything from 3D photogrammetry, so that's pretty straightforward. They're great for visualization. However, it doesn't necessarily work well for lattice structures, for example. And the inventory and inspection analysis is pretty basic because of those limitations. You have things like 3D CAD, you have things like 3D LiDAR, and then so on and so forth, right? And we have some other ones that you wouldn't necessarily see or think to see in telco. So we bring in like third-party BIM as well. So which is sort of, we call it like BIM light, because you don't need the level of detail, because it's not like you're building an airport or something, right? It has pretty straightforward. And then you have like 360 imagery and fully integrated models and things. So that is a digital twin, and that gives you basically a view of your physical asset. So from there, depending on which type of digital twin you have, you can review the individual images on that, and then you can take measurements. You can measure the azimuth, the tilt. You can do all these things with our product, right? So it's essentially an engineering tool to enable you as the expert telco engineer to do what you need to do, be it for compliance or for upgrade or for audit, right? So we just make your life really easy. And then for some of those things like audit and inventory, we started to automate that process for you. So you don't have to worry about it. So if we can answer the question without you doing it, we will answer the question, right? And we're always pushing forward to make your life easier, because we don't believe people need to be staring at thousands of images to try and work out what's going on at their site.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, in terms of, obviously there are huge, tremendous savings from this, but how else can a telco generate revenue from this as well? How does this service help them?
So Martin said, and this is really interesting, so the race to roll out and to monetize quickly, right? So if you're a big tower company and you're raising lots of debt to buy up lots of companies, you've got to service that with free cash flow pretty quickly, right? Otherwise your CFO is going to be slightly unhappy, right? So you need to come up with a way of driving top line revenue. We had a really interesting kind of conversation, or a series of conversations with C-suite executives, really since kind of from last May through to December. We sort of went through a period where I was kind of reaching out and getting some really good time with the tower company executives as all this has been happening, right? As all these tower companies have been consolidating, and we've had some really, really good insight. And this is slightly biased towards Europe, but I think still it remains true. I mean, America did consolidate slightly ahead of us with American Tower classically, buying up and doing that already. But we found some really interesting stuff. We found out that around 90% is the level of inventory accuracy in tower companies today, and that's probably less if you're an owner operator, and it's probably nearer than 90% if you're an independent tower company, out and out independent. So what that means though is you're leaving essentially 10% either on the table or you're incorrectly billing. So 10% variance is huge. So if we go back to our fictional kind of 23,000 tower company, or tower company with 23,000 sites, we said their revenue is around 315 million. The 10% variance is 31.5 million pounds. Right? That is enormous. That's top line revenue.
That's
so
huge.
Exactly, right. So what we do is we're not going to say, oh, we'll capture you 10%, but what we'll say is, on a very conservative estimate, we are confident we'll target 5% improvement. So just shy of 16 million pounds, right? That's kind of what we'll target. So, we'll drive your revenue by 16 million pounds. On the other side, we've already said we'll save you 12 million pounds. So the numbers really start to stack up. And so that's really where, where this kind of new way of looking at towers by kind of digitizing your physical assets, you end up with this incredible resource. And also there's other savings, and we didn't mention them, but you're saving on this kind of 23,000 site tower company. You'd also save 100 tons of CO2 per year by not driving to your site, right? Which is a key metric. It's really important. We've got to be, we've got to be sustainable. We've got to drive towards net zero, and we've got to do these really good things. And so it's just another additional benefit you bring into the fore. But like Martin said, and I think it was really interesting, this race to roll out, this race to monetize quickly. By having this information in its digital twin, digital format, you can access it any time. So if a contractor needs to go out to site, the contractor can access the latest view. They can see, can they physically get onto the site? Have they got the right equipment? Are the power cables they thought there on site already? We enable you to look inside cabins on site through our product. So you can actually go inside the cabin and see what's already in there. So, you can get all the information without even setting foot in a car and driving to site. So we're really, above and beyond the kind of routine stuff, we're doing huge savings there. And for 5G rollout, and this is kind of, really, really interesting. You got not only, the kind of pressures from the commercial pressures, you've got, political pressure, right? Countries want to roll out 5G as fast as possible. We're helping a major equipment manufacturer reduce 5G rollout from 14 days, which is what it was before we started working them, down to 4.
Is that per tower?
Per tower, right? Yeah. So 4 days instead of 14. That's enormous.
It's huge.
Absolutely enormous. So this is the sort of stuff you can do once you have this information. But I think what I'm really excited about is that, we can do all this clever stuff and we only take it so far. We then stop, right? And I guess this is where, when I sort of first was talking to Martin, we're really excited about elongating the benefits and reducing the time to value, which Blue Prism bring to this.
Yeah, that's fascinating in terms of everything that's collected and how they can use this, and the savings and the revenue that they can generate from this is tremendous. Let me ask Martin in terms of, to get his thoughts in terms of how intelligent automation and the value that Inspection2 brings. How is this how do you see this affecting the rollout of 5G? And how is intelligent automation going to affect, the monetization of what telcos are trying to do with this?
Yeah, Bill. I'd like to answer that in two parts. The first thing I'd say is that there is a perfect storm here of this imperative to roll out infrastructure quickly, to monetize as quickly as possible, and in parallel, this capability that the combination of Inspection Squared and Blue Prism brings to monetize more effectively, deploy more quickly, manage more effectively, deliver the compliance requirements. And I love the point about the sustainability, because that is so important. And
Yes.
we're not talking about a 5% improvement in each of those areas. We're talking about substantial improvement, and numbers that are in the range of tens of millions of euros or dollars or pounds. So this is high impact, relatively low investment, very fast to deliver, and it's just the perfect storm. But the question you asked me was, how does this all hang together, and what are the roles of Inspection Squared and Blue Prism in this, and to demonstrate this point, I'd like to just go back to the analogy of the digital worker. So today, to get the job done, you have people, you have physical workers, or you could say carbon workers, to do the work. But if we get digital workers to do a lot of this work, what are our relative roles? Well, the role that Inspection Squared plays, in fact, they play two really important roles. First of all, they are the brain. Okay, they are the decision engine. What am I going to do with this information that I've got? What insight can I learn? What am I going to do with it? And what are the best things to do? So that's something that Inspection Squared delivers. But also, Inspection Squared provides almost like a nervous system for that digital worker, because from that insight that Inspection Squared has gathered, you're then requiring somebody or something to go do something, to visit a site, to take action, to change some equipment, whatever it might be. And Inspection Squared is the nervous system, and Blue Prism is the kind of physical body, the arms and legs, the actual doing bit. So it's almost like we've got insights, but to make them actionable, that's where you plug Blue Prism into Inspection Squared to get that extended capability, that almost end-to-end capability of being able to get insight, being able to make very well-informed decisions, to be able to do that in real time, and then to be able to kick off all the actions and confirm you've done the actions, and then audit trail that, and compliance trail that, and give yourself a complete, almost like ecosystem, that is providing the full end-to-end capability of deploying quickly, monetizing to the maximum, maintaining very efficiently, effectively, being compliant, and being sustainable.
That's very well put. Very well put. I think this has been a great conversation. Fascinating. Thank you both, Martin and James, for participating in this. I want to let the audience know that if you're interested in reading more about our intelligent automation solution and as it relates to telecom, please visit blueprism.com. And under the solutions tab, there is a telecom page where we have a variety of assets, including some white papers on how intelligent automation can improve the 5G rollout, as well as other topics and other assets as well. Also, we're holding our annual event, Blue Prism World, which is a virtual event that will be happening on May 18th. So We will be showcasing all of our products and all of our solutions, and including our industry solutions as well. So please visit blueprism.com, and if you're interested, please register for that as well. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and I want to thank our panelists once again for participating. Thank you, Martin, and thank you, James. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, James.
Thanks for tuning in to Transform Now. For more insightful discussions on digital transformation and more, check out our podcast channel where you'll find all of our previous episodes. To make sure you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you like what you heard, please leave us a review. For more information about digital transformation and the future of work, check out blueprism.com to learn how Blue Prism's digital workforce is enabling enterprise transformation now.